Hey everyone, we're Red Donkey Projections. I'm Eric and we have Lucas as always.
Hey everyone.
So what we're going to be doing today is an updated presidential prediction. We thought it was necessary to do another one since it's been a while, and between that period of time, a lot has changed.
And with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, now we're gonna first go through all these safe Democratic states. We got the West Coast. We also have most of the states in the East Coast: Virginia, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., and I remembered to get New York this time. Maine All-State, Maine First District probably as well.
Got
and
Hawaii.
The state of Illinois and Hawaii. Cool. All right, now we're gonna go through all these safe Republican states here. Safe Republican states. So it's basically the Midwest, such as Montana, South Dakota, Nebraska, not the second district, Kansas, Oklahoma, Deep South, pretty general. Let's see. Did I hit them all? Yes, I think that should be
Alaska.
All right, cool. I'll plot on the likely Democratic states. Eric, why don't you discuss some of them?
All right. So the ones that have been pretty consistent ever since we started the channel, that's been Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico. Lucas right now is filling out Minnesota as a likely state. This is a very unstable area, as we know. This is where the epicenter of the revival of the BLM movements are. So, there was controversy as to what if Klobuchar gets picked, but we have been updated that she did request last night on MSNBC to, not be picked because of just the given circumstances. So likely because of the significant Democratic turnout here makes sense. Next, we have New Hampshire. This one's also been the same for the most part. There are a few moderate Republicans here, so we can't classify it as safe. Donald Trump got very close to winning the state, so that shows how it can't be a safe state. And last but not least, we have Virginia. Virginia actually,
Yay, I missed that one.
Virginia actually, we're debating, to putting it as safe likely because Virginia is swinging more and more to the left. There are some people here who just want to move to West Virginia because of how democratic the place is. So Virginia also did take a huge hit in terms of these protests because there are a lot of Confederate statues here, and there are a lot of protests here that state, replace them, take them down, and et cetera, et cetera. So the Democratic turnout is also being increased here as well, and I think that's all the likelies. We can move on to the Republicans.
Yeah, also these three consistent ones here, they've pretty much always been likely. The margins are less than the safe states, but they're probably going to go to Joe Biden. Now we're going to head to the likely Trump states. There's not a lot, I think. Iowa's definitely one of the likelies. Some people might say lean, some say likely. In our opinions, I think that Iowa has been swinging to the right a lot more. A lot of those white voters. Polling does show Trump leading. And with that being said, I do think that it'll be likely. And I think that actually is it for the likelies. That actually is. That's it. Interesting. Yep. We're going to head now to the lean Biden states. These states include the state of Michigan. Some sources, some pollsters, some predictors are comfortable to put Michigan as likely. In our opinions, we feel like it's still can still be battled for if it keeps going. Because polling does show Biden leading by quite a bit. Of course, polling isn't always accurate. You got to also take into account that Trump did carry the state in 2016. Although there is a large African American population here, it really still probably can go either way. The state of Pennsylvania, we're actually debating whether to put this one as a lean or tilt. Obviously, I think lean. In my opinion, I do think it will go lean to um, Joe Biden, with the reason being, one, Joe Biden is from here. I mean, it's not his home state, but he was born here in Scranton. Um, that's a pretty minor factor. But two is because, again, we have those big cities here that Biden can kind of get the vote out here and get people to vote. One of Hillary Clinton's mistakes was that she kind of campaigned in areas that she campaigned a lot in Florida. She didn't campaign as much as she probably should have in the blue wall, so that was definitely an issue. If Joe Biden is able to campaign more in the states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the odds should look better for him to win these states. And I think that's it for the leans. Yes, that is it for the leans for Biden. Let's talk about the lean Trump states now.
There are
The
actually
first state,
quite a few.
Texas. Eric, why don't you discuss Texas here?
Yep. So just a bit of context. Texas also has been hit pretty hard with these protests. Texas does have a quite Hispanic population. There are a few immigrants that are coming from Mexico, and they are in support of this movement. And that's really going to increase turnout. That's going to probably be a recurring theme of this video, how turnout definitely will be increased for the Democrats. And, at first we were like, well, lean Republican for Texas is a bit too generous, we'll have to see if something major happens. And look what happened, protests erupting here. I've said this in another video. Actually, there was footage uncovered from 2017 about police brutality somewhere in Austin or Houston. I don't remember exactly where. So that caused a huge outcry here. So, this is getting more and more realistic.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to mention that polling data as well. Joe Biden is down from Donald Trump by about 2 points, I think, from RCP, which is in the lean area. It's actually quite a pretty low lead, but obviously you can't always rely on polling data. But I think it's important that we also mention that basically all types of people support this Black Lives Matter movement, not just the Hispanics, but the numbers will come out in the state of Texas. Now, Eric will also discuss for Georgia.
Yeah, so Georgia is seeing a similar pattern as compared to Texas. Rashard Brooks was killed here in Atlanta, and that caused a lot of protests. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mayor of Atlanta, responded with this. She demanded that the officer be fired, and that gained her a lot of support from the Democrats here, which results in the how Georgia is leaning more and more to the left. We'd usually put this as likely. Sometimes, right before this, we even put it as safe. Actually, no, but, we were very confident that Georgia is going to Donald Trump. Now we're a bit less confident that this is happening. So that's why we're putting this as lean regarding all the protests that are happening.
Yes, definitely.
All
right.
You want to do Ohio next?
You know what? Eric, why don't you do Ohio next as well?
All right. And yet again, this is another one of our lean Republican states. Yes, we've been saying how Ohio is leaning more and more to the right. We've been really consistent in previous videos how Ohio's likely. But recent polling does show how Ohio is leaning more to the left.
Joe Biden actually is leading in the polling.
Yeah, exactly. We did a video and that showed how it was Biden +1. Very slim. And polling, we do say how polling leads to the left. But we think that, along with the protests, I think Ohio is safe to say that it is a lean.
And I definitely agree with that. Now let's head to the states of, let's head down to the Biden lean states. The first state is obviously Wisconsin. This is a state, tilt Ds. The state of Wisconsin is a tilt D. Polling does show Biden leading by a bit. However, I think in our opinions that Wisconsin is, again, the most likely state that Trump won in the blue wall to go to him again, because this is a pretty conservative area, a lot of white voters here. And because of that, I think that the margin will be pretty narrow. But at the end of the day, I do think Joe Biden will carry the state of Wisconsin. It will be pretty slim, but it will go to Joe Biden. Another state that we're putting as tilt D is the state of Arizona. Arizona. Now, Arizona is also swinging a lot more to the left now. In 2018, we saw Democrats pick up a pretty good amount of House seats here. And also, again, Hispanic turnout. A lot of the Hispanics are going to turn out and vote in this election. Yes, because although, all groups do support Black Lives Matter, we do feel like Hispanics will probably turn out more to also support this cause. And as a result of that, I think Arizona does swing to Biden's favor now. This will be a tilt D state. Mm-hmm. And also the state of North Carolina. The North Carolina will also actually, I think we should probably discuss North Carolina later because this one is quite debatable. Eric, why don't you cover Florida?
So Florida, I think, will be a tilt Democratic state just based on all of the events that are going on. And as Lucas said earlier, Hispanics will support the BLM movement. That will increase turnout. Although one thing that I have to say here is how Trump's holding of the RNC here will impact it much. Hillary Clinton's DNC in 2016, that was, where was it, I think? It was in Philadelphia. And
right.
She still did lose it. So that does show how just because he's having an RNC here doesn't mean that he will win the state. It's a huge factor, but, using 2016 as an example, that doesn't always prevail and be the best example of, factor of winning the state.
Definitely. So I do think polling also does show Biden leading here. I think actually by about 2 points, actually. There was some new 538 data out. I think he was leading by in a lean margin, which is pretty interesting to think about. And I think we forgot some of the. Okay, now we're gonna head to our states. Actually, we'll start with districts first. I actually do think Maine will be a lean. I don't think it's tilt because we have a lot of those rural areas here. Donald Trump won this one in 2016. I think he will win this one again. Now, Nebraska's second district is a lot more debatable. This is in between tilt and lean. I actually don't know what to put it as. Most people do put this one as tilt. I think we're going to put this as lean because, again, this is Nebraska, a very deep red state. There are a lot of cities here, and such as the city of Omaha. And obviously cities usually vote more Democratic, but this is Nebraska. I think it still will be pretty Republican, although if Joe Biden does decide to run a lot of ads here to try to win this district like Obama did in 2008, I think he will probably have a shot there as well. And now our final state is North Carolina, which we will actually be leaving as a toss-up. But this is kind of interesting to think about. When we first started this channel, I think we actually put North Carolina as likely, either likely or lean. But now, obviously, things have changed a lot, especially with the African-American population that will obviously be, or not, I shouldn't say obviously, but will likely be voting out in the polls more as a result of these Black Lives Matter movements. North Carolina has a pretty good African-American population, like as in their demographic, I think it's about either 10 to 20%. It's a pretty decent amount of African Americans living here. So obviously that will have a pretty big impact on this election. And we are seeing protests in the city of Charlotte, which is a pretty big city in the state of North Carolina. As a result, I think a toss-up would be the best characterization here. Now this is an interesting number, 205 to 318. We have not seen that number ever before. It looks like we got some new numbers here. But I think this probably will make sense. And that's our prediction for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching this episode. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. And if you like our content, please subscribe. We'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.